I want you to work on my struggle, no. The money long cause I don't fashion.
Hey, Asake. Oh, that guy's on fire.
Bro,
What do you think about Asake?
I'm a huge fan of that guy in the sense that I'm looking for the right words because it's not just that the guy is impressive. It's not just he's been making hit records. It's that he feels like the whole package, what you're looking for in an artist. I had a conversation with a friend once, with Excel once, and I said, why is this guy is popping, girls are obsessed with him. Is he that good looking? You know what he told me? He said, he looks like a star.
First time I saw him.
Do you understand?
This guy, he was built for this.
Yeah, like sometimes when labels want to sign people, they look like, oh, he can sing, he can perform, he has a personality, there's a brand somewhere. Like you're looking at Arasta, for example. When maybe wants to sign Arasta, for example, maybe you saw her, oh, she has an amazing voice, she's gorgeous, right? She looks like she has a personality as well. She can do a bad bitch thing, like all that. But Asake has all those things. But it's not exactly about the good. It looks like a star. That's another spec. Sometimes it's not like you're good looking. Yeah. You just look like a star. That's incredible, right? And I'm really impressed with how it's gone. It's been here for a while. Like, there's a Black Bones tweet that surfaced in 2016. Like, I remember Ayo of Turntable told me about Asake, like, in 2020 or 2021. We were talking and he made a reference to the guy. I didn't even know who he was at the time, to be honest. I didn't know. So he made a reference to the guy and it's like, man, if that guy gets a chance, that the guy is going to really blow. And I'm like, okay, I don't know who this is. It was in passing, so my mind wasn't there. When you people will tell you that he was a dancer, like, it's impressive what he's been able to achieve. I'm really proud of him and his team and his journey, and I'm happy for his family, to be honest, because yeah, he's about to build a few houses with the bag he's going to make between October and December 2022. Like, he's going to make a hell of a lot of money this year. A hell of a lot of money.
All right.
It's amazing.
Do you think the streets can be a veritable artist development space?
You remember when we did the facts only last year about how the church is probably the best artist development regimen in the country? Yeah, we did a facts only episode about that. And we also mentioned how some labels are also very intentional about it. For example, Mavin. Like Mavin Records has a very intensive, possibly in terms of record labels in Nigeria in the pop space, they have the best artist development regimen, right? These days, labels are not exactly interested in artist development anymore because you're looking at you might spend all your money on an artist and they might not make you money, so that means you've wasted your entire cash, right? I read a report that says we only get to see 30% of the like between 2003, I believe, and 2015. We only got to see 30% of the artists that labels. Is it 30 or 35% of the artists that labels signed? Right? Because they signed a lot of artists. They give you a record deal. They give you a record deal, a development deal, and then maybe a lot of them never see the light of day. I remember reading a piece that Wale signed a record deal with Interscope, I believe, and he got money for it. And I'm not sure he ever released a record on the label before he signed to another record label, I think MMG, Universal. I can't particularly remember the details right now. And you are looking at, no, it was definitely Interscope before he signed to another record label where he released World Tour and the record with Chilling, right? It was way before then. We also saw this lady called Ray, who did this record with Odyssey like some years ago, called Ray, right? And she couldn't release a record under a record label, right? And she was complaining that it was affecting her mental health because they were pushing it back. And they released her. And I'm sure they must have given her money, right? So labels have to take a risk on artists. And sometimes they win, sometimes they lose. The little ones, that's why they sign 360 deals with everybody. Because you never know what might work. And when it works, they are milking every dime, bro. So back to this Asake situation. The streets can also be a veritable artist development regimen. We said it on the Portable episode, where we noted that it was sometimes look at people that were born on the streets. I remember in 2009, my cousin was telling me that Lagos boys, I didn't grow up in Lagos, I grew up in Akure. He said Lagos boys know how to do 3 things. They don't know how to play football, they know how to dance, but they know how to sing. Right? Because the perception is, oh, Lagos boys come from the streets, they relate to a lot of people. Lagos is a cosmopolitan city where you have a lot of influences, right? And there's a lot of pop culture influence. Lagos is the center, is the nucleus of Nigerian pop culture. So you must know how to do something. Right? So let's come back to this particular person. People that grew up in the underground. If you can sing, maybe your mother belongs to the church, you are probably going to be going to street carnivals. You are probably going to be performing a freestyle. People that grew up in Agege or Mushin or somewhere in Akure, right, on the streets, right, you have seen kids gather and they are battling, they are rapping, and they are dancing against each other. They are playing rubber bands, right? They are betting on dice. That's how people form talents, because when they are tired of that, maybe you can play dice, you can't rap more than I do. Or you think you can rap with guest rap. That's how things like that start. And people start burgeoning and creating talent. That's why you see a lot of people that grew up on the streets, they can just go into the studio and freestyle an entire record. Because they've been doing it all their lives. It's not exactly a good thing all the time, but they formed out to do it on the streets. And the problem with the streets, with growing up on the streets is, I'm not saying streets, it doesn't have to be inner cities or the slums or the trap or the trenches. The streets can also be like lower middle class or middle class places where kids can interact with each other. It doesn't have to be, I'm not talking about Omori, I'm talking about regular streets like Ogba or whatever else, right? Like there's an entire crew of people that grew up in Adeniyi Jones. Like you're talking about Source is Adeniyi Jones boy. With Sinzu now, you're looking at Tito Simos as Adeniyi Jones boys. Or Sage Alunge, when he used to be a rapper, used to go to Adeniyi Jones a lot because it used to happen there, right? So the thing that we're talking about here is you also have to be confident because, for example, if you're not rapping properly, they will diss you and you might cry if you don't have a strong personality. Do you understand? So you are learning how to perform, you are learning how to create words on the fly, you are learning how to have confidence, you are learning how to have a personality, right? Because unknowingly to you, while you are doing all those things, you are developing your talents. And this also goes into how the streets also inform how people learn to hone their skills in university and in schools. Because people freestyle a lot. I remember when we used to go to church when I was in uni, people would drink up and do some wild shit in the morning and they would start performing and recording because at the time I know how to chop on FL Studio and Cubase. So we would just do the wildest possible nonsense and put them out because we were having fun, not because anybody wanted to be artists, but at the time, right? People, a lawyer, maybe someone that has the worst voice in history will come and voice because, you understand, it was very weird, right? So imagine Asake doing that while being serious. He started off as a dancer, right? And he must have earned his stripes as a dancer. Then he became an artist. He said everything on Hip TV. You can listen to his interview on Hip TV. So are the streets a veritable artist development regimen? Yes, they can be.
All right. So Asake has had some hit songs over the past couple of years.
Yeah.
But what do you think has been his most important song so far?
Whew. I think that would be, let me think properly. I've always been caught between Palazzo and Omope, but I've also been forced to see the importance of Mr. Money that dropped before all this. So it was me, I know they cap, me, I know they cap. That was Asake as well, right? I'm going to go with Palazzo. You know why?
Why?
Without Palazzo having buzz and success, Peace Be Unto You would have flopped. Might have flopped, or might have been slept on. Might. I'm not saying it for a fact, so don't let me say it for a fact. But there's a chance that it wouldn't have hit immediately like it did. Like, Peace Be Unto You hit immediately. Like, nobody was confused about the fact that it was a hit 2 days after it was released. It was immediate. Both. And it was not about the fact that it was number 1 on Apple Music or because it was number 1 trending on YouTube. You dey feel am. Eye test. Your eye will tell you. Your mind will tell you. And if it doesn't tell you, then you need to go and clean your ear and your eye. You understand? Right? So I think it was, in terms of the record that had to happen for him to get on this run, I'll say it was Mr. Money. Because after Mr. Money happened, then the conversation with Olamide started happening. Then Omokwe happened, because he told the story as well. Omokwe happened. Then after Omokwe, then the conversation with Olamide started happening. Right? So all these things, I think, but the most important record I think is Palazzo, because drop Mr. Money, drop Omokwe, drop Baby Trabaye, drop Suba, right? All those 3 records or 4 records had worked. And then he had dropped an EP. Then it needed continuity. Then he had dropped the remix with Burna Boy. He needed continuity. Palazzo is the one that... Palazzo is the reason why people are going to anticipate this album. Do you understand? Like, the strategy behind making a DJ be a front runner for the song is amazing. It's amazing. So, I think it's Palazzo.
Nice. All right. Have we ever seen anything like Asake?
So people are going to conflate this reality for me saying he's the hottest new artist ever. But by the end of this year, we might be having that conversation anyway. We've seen some very impressive blow year as a solo artist. So I'm going to 99. I always go back to 99 in terms of Nigerian music, in terms of how contemporary Nigerian music. It's 99 is the origin here. Is the divider between the. So even when you talk about Fuji, for example, people are going to tell you it's 79, 91, 99, like where things changed, right? We saw Tony Chechila have a fantastic run as a solo artist, right? With his debut album Morning Time, had about 3 or 4 hit records, from Morning Time. Then Tubaba, off his debut album, Face to Face, had quite a run as well, because you're looking at African Queen, you're looking at Tiffany Bar, like there are other records. You're looking at someone like Olumentane. I think the closest thing to Asake will probably be Olumentane, in terms of the variety of the success and the instant noise he made as a solo artist, right? Because you had Yahooze. Basically, the entire Yahooze album was a hit. Then you had Wandiko, right? Then you had Wiz, and Olamide, and David, right? Then you had Kiss Daniel, who also had an amazing, ridiculous run. Then you're looking at Rema. That's another person that had hits in their first year. Then, in terms of like impressive 1-year runs in Nigerian music, you're looking at Emma had an impressive 1-year run as well. Wiz had it. Wiz has had like 2 or 3. David has had like 2. Olamide has had like 4. Kizanel had 1. This year is probably going to be his 2nd year where he's having a ridiculous run. Techno, Runtown. They all had that. So it's a 2-pronged conversation now. Opening year as a open blow year, right? And impressive 1-year runs. That Asake is a conversation of those 2 things right now. So in terms of blow year, we have never seen anything like this before, bro. Do you know why? Ask me why.
Why?
5 hit records within your opening 6 months. Within your opening 6 months of your blow year. That's ridiculous. We have never seen it before. We used to call 4 hit records a spectacular year, in terms of a full year of 4 hit records a spectacular year. Right? Because everybody keeps going back to Davido 2017 because it was an impressive year, but that was 4 hit records. 4. That was 4 hit records. And even like that wasn't as big as the other records, but because like that's probably everybody's favorite in terms of all the songs that dropped, we're going to say, okay, like that's a part of the conversation. But with this guy, Trabaye doesn't have a video. Bro, Trabaye has no video. When they played Trabaye at my sister's wedding in Akure, when people were, Mo fe Trabaye, everybody started like this. Like it was national anthem. Bro, I'm like, what the hell is going on? Do you understand? I'm not even talking about young people. I'm talking about older people now, older Nigerians. It's almost like their claim to being cool, just like Buga is. Do you understand? It is ridiculous. So I'm not even counting the remix of Sungba, because it's almost like Sungba remix and Sungba are different songs. You know, it's not almost like technically they're different songs, but in the eyes of Nigerians, people are going to play them as one record. But when you also look at the path that they've taken, they are 2 different records as well. So it's 3 different conversations. So back to Asake here. We have never seen anything like this in a Blue year before. Wiz, yes, Wiz. But Holla at Your Boy dropped in Q4 2010. Right? Q4 2010. Q1, Q2 2011. Tease Me and Don't dropped. Right? Tease Me dropped in February. Don't dropped just before the album. Let's say a month or about 2 months before the album. Album drops, Bakurumo drops. So that's over 7 months of 3 records significantly. Then Bakurumo drops, then the album drops, then all the records of the album just blew up. Do you understand? That's what happened with Wiz. With David, it was back when first. Yeah. Then it started. Then everything picked back up in 2011, late 2011, with the classic record, Damiduro, right? But with this guy, then with 2 Baba, it was African Queen and Ifeanyi Eba majorly. Let's not lie to ourselves, right? There were other hit records from the album, but it was those 2 primarily, and a lot of those things happened after the album dropped. So we're going back to, let's say, Olamide. Yeah, but it was Eniduro and the record with Wiz. Those were the 2 ones. Now, when the album dropped, yes, it had, but it was just those 2 significantly. We have never seen anything like this. On Rema's, when Rema dropped his EP, yes, all these 4 songs were big, but it felt like some of those 4 other records were limited to a particular demographic in Nigeria. It was Dumebi that really blew. Kiss Daniel, yes, is probably the closest thing to this guy in terms of Woju, Laye, Rabba. Then after the album dropped, then records blew up. This guy, no album yet. An EP, yes. EPs are now albums, maybe. Do you understand? But even when he dropped the EP, it didn't exactly come with the big budget and the fanfare of Superstar and Kiss Daniel's album and Rema's EP. Rema's EP also did have a lot of noise, but still, Rema was on Maven, and there's an entire conversation about Rema launching. There's an entire conversation of Maven. There's an entire sequence when Maven announces an artist. Well, I'm just announced this guy on Instagram, and that was it. So there's a difference. We have never seen anything like this before. We have really never seen anything like this before. So, but in terms of like, so you know I said there was 2 commercials, Blue Year and 1 year runs. Bro, by the end of if this guy has 5 already, for some people they will say 6. If they're counting Suba remix, they will say 6. Personally, I'm counting Suba as one song. Before the end of this year, he might be looking at 8, possibly 10. That is crazy. Because he's dropping an album very soon.
Nice. Right, do you think he's a beneficiary of his reality as the internet and streaming?
Yes, he has. Someone has to call my attention to this. He is. So the person drew my attention to Lil Kesh. Lil Kesh's run as well. Remember the famous Headies moment when Olamide counted all the hit records, right? The person said, right now it's easier for Asake to have this run. The person is not saying it is easy overall because it will never be easy. In a year where everybody is confused, someone is having 5 hit records in 6 months. Bro, in a year where everybody is confused, nobody knows what's happening. We just talked about the last episode of Facts Only. Nobody knows what the formula is. There is no formula. There's no blueprint. Money is the same, bro. Nobody knows what money is anymore. But here is somebody, I know you alumnus doing this, right? So the person is saying, but he said it is easier because of 2 things: the internet and streaming. And when the person broke it down, I found myself saying, okay, you are making a very good point. The person is saying, in the past, when Lil Kesh was blowing up, the strategy was different. The strategy was totally different. So the person gave me these points, and it made total sense in the sense that In the old days, the model was different. How were people blowing up back in the day? You release a record. Your marketing strategies, you release it to Alaba and DJs. They might give you an advance if you're lucky or if you're big enough, right? And then they market your music, and maybe your music blows, and then you do press releases or articles and campaigns on newspapers and whatever else. And then you go on radio and release your music videos on the MTV basis, the Channel O's, Mzikis, everywhere else, right? That was it at the time. That model was different because it was very decentralized. It was very decentralized. Now, don't get me wrong, these guys then created it on music blogs because of the internet. But the difference between the music blog also united it, but still, music blogs were not powerful enough to single-handedly blow records. So the biggest evangelists of Nigerian music, even when music blogs were the thing, still airplay and radio, slamming it back to back. Music blog just had power because people started becoming internet natives. So that reality was different. Now, right now, we're currently of 200 million people. What music blogs did was create a pipeline of accessibility to music at the same time, right? Simultaneous accessibility to music. Streaming has enlarged it on another level. Now, if you are not streaming on premium platforms like Apple or this place, you are streaming freemium on some of these platforms, and you are using YouTube, right? It also opened accessibility of our music. Music blogs also created a pipeline of our music to the rest of the world, right? Not just us anymore. So that means if Asake launches, everybody has access to his music at the same time. And people know they can get it on Apple Music, on Spotify, on this, on that, on here. Do you understand? So it means that if it drops on YouTube today, it can have 1.7 million streams, and the circulation is going to be crazy. And there's a lot of young people right now that are internet natives, and in a country where a reported 53% is under 19 years old, and a lot of those guys are Asake's fans. They are the ones that are listen to his music the most. His fans is filled with young people. Not you another 30, almost 30. Do you understand? It's young people under 25s. Those are his biggest fans. We have jobs now. I am a huge fan of his as well, but we don't exactly make up the large demographic of his fans, of his fan base. So it's young people, and those guys are digital natives. They are the ones that determine the success of his songs the most. So yes, as streaming and music and the internet improved the chances of an Asake to have this run, yes, it is easier right now. It doesn't make it easy to achieve. If it was easy, everybody would run. It's not easy. That's the idea.
So are you saying that the people of old might have been able to do this if they had the internet?
They might have. Because right now it's still decentralized. The strategy to release music and blow music is still decentralized in the sense that people still have to release music. They still have to consider airplay as well, which is still the most powerful in Nigeria, right? They still have to release on they still have to go at TikTok strategies and social media strategies and influencers and all of these things, right? But think about it this way. The influencers are now the OAPs in terms of influencing. Do you understand? The place of OAPs is starting to change to influencers. That's why OAPs now have to become influencers. Does that make sense? Yeah. Because OAPs used to have the monopoly before. Now you are looking to go viral on TikTok because you want the rest of the world to listen to your music. The level that a radio station might get you to is very limited. There's a limitation and there's a bar. I can't listen to a lot of radio stations, a lot of Lagos radio stations in Akure. And an Akure OAP would probably not be a star on the level of a Lagos OAP that's decided by the rest of the country. Do you understand? So there's a difference. It's still decentralized, but the power that music streaming has is way more than the power that music blogs had. Because I drop it, everybody can access it. Everybody. in real time, and I can be tracking the way they're accessing it, and it's counting the number of streams that the number of times that they're listening to it. It's counting. It's counting. It doesn't matter if it's just 10,000 or 15,000. It's counting, and I can literally see it get to number 1 on a chart somewhere. That's aggregating the amount of time people are listening to it. And we can also see social media and the conversations. The day the guy teased the record, you can see what happened. It wasn't about someone paying influencers. It was organic. Even if they paid influencers to increase the conversations, people listened to the songs and liked it, and they started anticipating it by themselves. So wouldn't it have been easier for people like Wiz, Wande Cole, some of these guys to do it in their year of blue? Maybe. But a lot of people will say that's taking away from the success of Asake. No, we are not taking away from it. Everybody is a beneficiary of the previous generation. There are a lot of things that someone like me is benefiting from that a person like Asake alone didn't benefit from. Do you understand? Everybody that exists in a particular time is a beneficiary of people that exist before them. Like, I'm talking about the bar before them. Do you understand? So it's life. It's the conversation. I was talking to my friend Shegun Akode, who works for Maven, about 3 years ago, and he gave me the theory of Hegel. Hegel is a philosopher, right? The theory was there is no new without the old. That's the long and short of what he was saying. That's the long and short of what it was. There's no new without the old. That's the long and short of it. So people like Lil Kesh had to happen to make it to create that pathway and the possibility, and Wiz and Tony Tachila and everybody before him to make this possible, because those guys created the possibilities with the music blogs, and the music blogs sort of led to the reality that we're currently living. Influenced in a way. Influenced is a pathway of evolution. That's it.
So I think without the people of old, Asake would not have been able to achieve this.
I'm saying without the things that they did, because they made people digital natives. People were consuming music on CDs before. Now people started consuming music on music blogs. Now when music blogs started putting links to streaming companies, they also have to start listening to music on the streaming platforms. Does that make sense? Yeah. Like, if the old people didn't say, oh, you're marketing music on radio, new guys would be marketing music on radio. If people were not using influencers to drum up their names when they release records, people would not be thinking of TikTok influencers using them to. Bro, it never ends. Everything is an improvement on the old. That's how life is.
It's like a butterfly effect.
Bro, egg to lava to pupa to adults. It's a mosquito now fly. The game is the game. You know what I'm talking about. That's it.
All right, so do you think TG Omori influenced his career in any way?
So one thing I don't like on social is, we had this conversation on our podcast, the last episode of the pod, and I sort of blew up at people, which I didn't like after. And I don't like the fact that people are trying to credit him with Asake's brand. Do you understand? But I also don't want to make it seem like he didn't do anything. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I also don't want to make it seem like he didn't do anything, because he did. Do you understand? But this Asake journey is not a coincidence. It didn't just happen. Do you understand? It's not like it just poof, the guy is here. It's not one of those guys. There's a Blackbones tweet from 2016 about how the guy is the best performer in Nigeria. Do you understand? I've been hearing about him from OU people for 2 or 3 years. That people were talking about him when people like Zamora and what's this guy? God. What's his name again? I remember his name before the end of the show, right? When people were talking about him, they were talking about him as well. So he was this guy even before TG Omori started shooting this video. Do you understand? But what TG Omori is doing with him is a perception. The guy looks like a star. But what TG Omori is doing is warping perception in the guys in Asake's favor. He looks like something. Like, Asake is the person that is making TG Omori do these things. And without the fact that Asake is already that person, TG Omori would not be able to execute it. Does that make sense? Like, you can build a brand for anybody all you want. If they come, it's like wanting a stiff person to be a lively model in a photo shoot. It's not going to happen. It's like expecting me to be able to wind my waist in a music video. I can't do it. Go and call somebody else. Hey, Bobrisky. Do you understand? It will wind his waist for you. Or their waist. You get what I mean? The point is made. Right? So I can't do it. So if this person, if he wasn't already this guy, he wouldn't be able to execute it. That is the point. So, but the good thing about this guy is, it's like music videos are like ads. They're like advertisements. They're like they give mileage to people, to things. And the good thing about TG Omori is TG Omori, like clients before him, is making people watch music videos. Do you understand? He is making people watch music videos and say, that's a great video. Because there are 3 acts in the video for Peace Be Unto You alone. There's an arc of him being like a villain. What's the name of that guy from Mad Max? The head of the clan. Where he was riding the bike, he looked like that guy. He looked like a villain. One, there was a part where he then dressed up and looked like a pastor and was reading. Like he was reading from the Bible. And then he packed his hair. His hair wasn't down again. He had the glasses on. Then there was a part where he was arguing with his girlfriend and looked like a gangster. Then he stood on a clock. There's a brand, there's a grand brand that is building for the guy that it fits all descriptions of what you're looking for. Then he started dancing with her fast. With the sheiks rather. Started dancing with them. So he's contributing to the brand. It's contributing to the perception of the guy. Even without meeting the guy, without the guy saying a word, right? You have this idea that this is a star. Right now, the guy can even go to Nollywood if he wants to and become a villain in the movie. If he wanted to. So that's what TG Omori is doing. But I don't want people to solely credit him for what this guy is doing. This guy is that guy. TG Omori is amplifying it. That's the difference.
All right, what do you think about Asake's brand generally?
Bro. Two of the biggest, I said two of the MVPs of 2022 in a tweet last week are crowd vocals and Fuji, right? Nothing is new again, which brings me back to this conversation. People are going to say brought back crowd vocals. He didn't. I mean, people are going to say he invented crowd vocals. He didn't. But in terms of, there's been an obsession with crowd vocals since the start of the year. Like every other record has it. Even Buga has it. Even Last has it. Like, you can literally see the trajectory. Even songs that don't have to have it. If you didn't put crowd vocals on Buga, I'm not sure anybody would have missed it. Do you understand? Like, if it was not there, the only reason why you're going to miss it right now is because if they play, you have heard it before, and I've heard the crowd vocals. If you were to play the record without crowd vocals, you are not going to feel it. Right? Aside from the fact that the guy looks like a man for all seasons. It's not just like a Naira Marley. So it's like an improvement on people like Naira Marley. Do you understand? How do I put it that's going to make sense? Someone like Naira Marley has been making a sound, and he looks like his primary fan base is people on the streets. This guy delivers in Yoruba as well, but the brand is not exactly limited to that crowd. Does that make sense? His fan base is transcending, just like Olamide later in his career. Do you understand? And it also makes sense that the person that is in the driving seat of his career and brand right now is someone like Olamide who has also switched his brand over the past 2 years. Does that make sense? So the brand is bound to be wider or more dense. Right? And he's then singing in Yoruba, in Fuji. 20 years ago, this boy would have been a Fuji artist. Do you understand? 20 years ago, easily, he would have been a Fuji artist. If anybody wants to get more about what I said, you can listen to the episode about Fuji Live that we did last year, right? So that's the thing with this guy. the brand is so deft. Because right now, you are looking at a guy that can become an ambassador for one of those bitters that people drink. He can become an ambassador for one of them. He can become an ambassador for an energy drink. He can become an ambassador for beer. He can become an ambassador for a streaming platform, for a drink platform, for headphones platform. Like, that's the type of brand. It's so dense and so layered, right? And then you are looking at the perception. The good thing about that TG Omori, going back to the TG Omori thing is, TG Omori is, the videos that TG Omori is shooting for him. You know, I remember I talking about perception. It's also contributing to that because it's amplifying it in the sense that sometimes it dresses like his alter. Do you understand? Like he's a cool kid. So that is the brand perception. For example, the part where he was dressing like it looked like he's a street artist. Then he tucked in his shirt, wore pants, and dressed, and it looked like someone that walks on Wall Street. Or a pastor, and then he was reading from a Bible. And he was arguing with his girlfriend while he was dressed like a boss. Do you understand? Like, that's contributing to it because it's like, remember I said it's like an advertisement. You might not be interested in the brand at that particular time, but when it comes time for you to interpret the brand subconsciously, it's going to help you. That's it. And then it's still going to hold the Fuji crowd down. The residual of the predominant Fuji crowd. They're going to love it. That's it.
Do you think Mr. Money was a hit?
Yeah, it was a hit record. But it was a sleeper hit record. Let's say that. A sleeper hit record. That's what it was. Because in certain circles it was big, and in other circles it wasn't big. And if you were talking about the top 20, top 30 records of last year, it wasn't there. That doesn't mean that it wasn't a hit record because a lot of rock records that are not in the top 30 are still hit records. But this one just wasn't there. For example, is it as big as or did they have the staying power of a J. Will's Medicine? No, it didn't. Do you understand? And that was a hit record that was another hit record. It looked like a sleeper hit. When he puts the conversations together, it looks like a hit record. But was Mr. Money as big as it? No, it wasn't. So that's it. Mr. Money had a purpose, especially in clubs. Shout out to Share Banks. I was talking about that last week. Yeah.
All right. What does this say about the Nigerian artists of the future and what they can achieve?
Bro, it's so limitless. In the sense that people don't have to be limited to streets anymore. If you weave your brand very well and if you're intentional about it, and you have people that can interpret and amplify properly for you, then you can do anything you want. It also means that streaming is the current frontier, right? But we are going to see something else very soon. So it means that if this guy is doing 5 hit records in 6 months, we might see someone that's going to do 10 hit records in 4 months, but in the next 10 years or 15. That's what it means. That's what it means.
All right. What do you think Asake needs now?
I don't even know, bro. What do you give someone? Already, if Asake doesn't release anything anymore this year, it's going to make millions upon millions in December. But right now, what it needs right now is the big guns are coming. David, Wiz, Burna, Olamide, they are coming. And if he can survive that with another hit record, then he'll be fine. And then he'll be fine. And then if he drops his album, and the album, then he has a chance to see his album have maybe 3 other new hit records, then he's fine. Does that make sense? Like, if you just remember 2020 when Omale was a popping guy, then the big guys dropped and he weathered the storm, then he came back with Godly. Do you understand? So if this guy can weather that storm and the storm doesn't swallow him, he can still be on the charts, still be in the conversation. Say if those guys are dropping, he's still able to reach #1 on streaming charts, on turntable, right? Then we can have conversations about what he is. Then we can say, oh, he's the hottest artist this year. He's already the hottest artist this year, but there's a way these big guys can just come and take it from you. There's a way that they do. Because they can come a combination of albums and hits and everything. But with him, if he can survive, have his hit records, another hit record around that time, then after they drop, he drops his album and his album blows up, then it's fine.
Okay. So what stars needs to align, or what needs to happen for him to have an unprecedented year?
Right now he's already doing the Amapiano, right? It's already his last 3 records have been Amapiano records.
Yeah.
But the thing with him now is he needs to do something else. He needs to. He doesn't need to, because I was having a conversation with someone before we started shooting. The person said, but well, you don't know what his trajectory is. He doesn't feel like it's going to last. I understood where the person was coming from. Because look at Zinoliski, for example. Zinoliski has been doing this Amapiano thing for the past 2 years. My brother, let it go. Let it go. It's time. It's time. 2 years, my guy. Why? Why? Since Q4 2020, my brother has been doing Amapiano singles back to back. Bro, let it go. Do you understand? But with this person, it's working in the sense of there's also a proximity of time during which they have dropped. 3 months or 4 months max. Right? So it means that he can still experiment for, like, say, the next 1 or 2 months and still be able to succeed. But if they want him to have a long-lasting career, right, then they need to experiment with something else very soon. It doesn't have to be immediately. It just has to be very soon. I saw a guy do a TikTok with him. To do a TikTok about how he's showing December when he's performing. He's not going to know which one to perform, which was very hilarious, right? But the thing is, it's different from those other guys because he's not doing the same records over and so sometimes what makes things bore people is not the fact that you're doing them back to back. It's also about the time during which you drop them. So if you are dropping the same type of sound within a 3-month space and they are taking over the baton from each other in the relay, then that means you are good. But when that's the only thing it does till the end of the year, then we'll start having a problem. Does that make sense? Moreover, Omokwe and Trabaye, I know Amapiano records. They don't have Amapiano influences. So he's safe. Does that make sense? He's safe. That's it for him. But what he needs to guarantee going forward is nothing. Let him just be himself right now. He has time on his side. He has till the end of the year. He even has till the middle of next month. What the current world is showing us is that never rule anybody out. Look at Ricardo Banks. Ozumba Mbadi last year. Could you have seen that coming? Bro, one of the biggest records of 2021, right? Look at records like Gentility making a comeback. Look at a record like Necessary making a comeback. So it just shows you that anything is possible. But with him, he's still fine. Let him keep doing what he is. But let him have it in his mind that he's going to need to evolve going forward. And guess what? He has the best person on this team. Olamide knows the right things to do. He's a vet. So he will know the right time for him to evolve. And that's factual.